Well, a very good afternoon to you all, and first of all, on behalf of the Big Hospitality Conversation, an enormous thank you for all of your support in the work that we've done since the first Big Conversation in 2012. The Big Conversation is all about connecting hospitality industry leaders with young people and inspiring them about the future that they could have in our industry, an industry that gives people the opportunity to start their career and work their way right up through the organisation. The Big Conversation focuses on three key areas: the power of work experience, the opportunities that can be developed through giving young people who are currently unemployed their first job, and the power of apprenticeships to change lives and give people the skills they need to develop their career in the future. The task we have is to achieve 60,000 pledges of opportunity against those three areas by the end of 2016. And I just wanted to thank you personally for your support, because today we stand at 43,000 pledges of work experience, jobs and apprenticeships. And I know with your support over the coming months, we'll be able to reach our target of 60,000 pledges. So to talk more about the power of attraction and inspiration, can I please invite my panel to join me on stage? Stephen Cassidy, Stephen Howard and Nikki Kelly. So let me begin by introducing the panel we have with us this afternoon to discuss in more detail the power of inspiration and the opportunities for young people in the industry. Sitting next to me here is Nikki Kelly. Nikki is the Head of Programmes and Operations Manager for the Tottenham Hotspur Foundation. Now, it's a unique organisation that focuses on regeneration and community development and driving partnerships across all of the sector for skills employment programmes and really creating opportunity by working with over 157 colleges, community leaders and youth services and the third sector organisations to develop and deliver really innovative approaches to providing services, not just in Tottenham, but across the whole area, and really giving young people the opportunity to grab hold of their lives and make a difference. So please welcome Nikki to the panel. And sitting next to Nikki is Steve Cassidy. Steve's the Senior Vice President for UK and Ireland for Hilton Worldwide, responsible for their multi-brand portfolio across the British Isles. And Steve is a really strong advocate of the travel and tourism industry contribution to the economy, and acts as chairman of the Hospitality Guild and is also a board member of the British Hospitality Association. Welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
And last but by no means least, please give a warm welcome to Stephen Howard, Chief Executive of Business in the Community. Stephen joined Business in the Community back in September 2005 and brings a wealth of senior management expertise to Business in the Community and has played an instrumental role in helping them develop their agenda over the last couple of years. Stephen. So this afternoon, we're going to focus on a couple of key areas and try and answer some of the big questions that are out there about the opportunities in our industry for young people. What are the responsibilities of business, education and government in developing that skilled workforce for the future? And where do the future leaders of our big PLCs come from? How could business better attract and inspire that next generation of leaders? And what are the opportunities for collaboration between key influencers, and what lessons can we learn from other industries? And then finally, what policies could we use to help not just big business that's represented on the panel today, but also those small and medium-sized enterprises that form such a big part of our industry? So perhaps to get us started, Steve, from Hilton's point of view, I mean, you've played a personal, massive role in helping us with the big conversation, in helping us generate the events that have secured the pledges. How's the youth agenda going within Hilton, and are you making progress?
Yes, we are making progress, but there's a lot more work to be done. Listen, I need to probably give recognition to the Big Hospitality Conversation. I mean, I think it's provided a focus for business to make pledges into those three key important areas that you mentioned, and it really has galvanized efforts in that regard. I mean, Hilton Worldwide made a pledge a year ago to put 300 work experience placements out there in the UK. I'm pleased to say to date, 180 of those have been filled. So we've still got some way to go, and really we need to be offering a lot more than 300 going forward. But it's a fabulous start. We can't underestimate the importance of apprenticeships. I know the word has been used a lot during various presentations today. We ourselves have committed to apprenticeships across functions and roles within our hotels, and we've now put, in the last 2 years, more than 200 apprentices through a program, and they've now completed. But again, we're talking about scaling that up significantly to meet what is an enormous demand for workers, particularly from youth age groups. I mean, if you look at the statistics, and people first published some statistics recently, that by 2022 we need to find 1 million new workers into our industry. So when Hilton is talking about 300 work experience pledges and a couple of hundred apprenticeships, you appreciate we need to do a lot more than that, and there's a lot of responsibility on business to do so. And just the third area I just wanted to flag, and you mentioned that I'm chairman of the Hospitality Guild, so if you don't mind, I'll give a bit of a plug to a couple of the members of the Hospitality Guild. And just as way of explanation, the Hospitality Guild is a collaboration of training providers, skills agencies, and employers, with a single goal of progressing the skills agenda within the hospitality industry, and has started to make some really good inroads in various areas that I can talk about later. But a couple of the organizations that are members, one is Future Chef, and the other one is Adopt a Chef initiatives that come from Springboard and Royal Culinary Arts. And that's about getting into primary skills and secondary skills and inspiring young people to the potential of working as chefs in our industry. And that's a critical point, and I think a narrative that goes throughout this debate is getting in early to that point of first inspiration. And both of those organizations, Springboard and Royal Culinary Arts, with both their initiatives, here's the plug, they're looking for more chefs to be part of that program, to go into schools and inspire the youth of today to creating or developing a career within the hospitality industry.
Do you think the industry's had a reputation for being, I mean, we heard it earlier today, people talking about cost of jobs and not real jobs. We heard about people not valuing the sort of opportunities that we can offer for lifelong careers. Do you think there's more we could do in helping to sell the benefits of hospitality? I mean, you talk about schools, but you talk about wanting to increase the numbers. What's getting in the way? Is it something that the government needs to be doing more about, or is it something we should do for ourselves?
Well, I think it starts with us, and we seek government's help where appropriate and necessary. I mean, clearly we need to improve the appeal of our industry. And I talked about the work that's been done by some of the Hospitality Guild organizations in getting into schools and inspiring young people. I think there's a lot of work that still needs to be done with careers advisory services, and even working more directly and influencing parents around the potential of this industry. Because we all know what a fantastic industry it is and what potential it offers. You can come into this industry with very little skill and be trained up and developed, and the sky's the limit. And it was great to see Patrick quoted on the Big Hospitality Conversation video about where he started, and clearly the success he made of his career. And that potential is there for everybody. And
the power of apprenticeships in Hilton, I mean, what's the result so far? Are you noticing a real step change from the people who've been on the programme, or is it a particular burden for the managers who get involved?
Yeah, I mean, if I talk in harsh economic terms, turnover is less, productivity is better, quality is improved, and you can see that demonstrably where apprenticeships are applied. I mean, I'm a massive supporter of taking apprenticeships to the next level. Hilton Worldwide has put its money where its mouth is in terms of being the lead employer on the Trailblazers apprenticeship initiative. That's still work in progress. We've still got to get through some final hurdles, but hopefully that employer-led apprenticeship initiative will be a fantastic foundation for skills development within our industry.
We've certainly found the same in Premier Inn. It's like lights a fire underneath people. Their ambition and their determination grows many times over. But Stephen, we were talking earlier about how we weren't part of the initial Trailblazers program, and in fact it was very focused as usual on science, engineering, technology and maths. You know, we came and we've been recognised later through the work that the whole industry's been doing. But what do you think we could learn from other industries that you work with? How could we better make our voice heard or make these opportunities come to life?
Well, John, you've touched on so many important themes today in almost every session, and they sort of weave back through, don't they? The world in which we live in is changing, and it's changing at pace. Economically, politically, socially, it's a different environment. We are in a land and at a time of skill shortage. I don't care what sector we talk to, and yet we've got chronic unemployment. We've got technology disrupting every business model, the sharing economy growing at pace, the whole world of work turning on its head. So we look at these problems and we say, wait a minute, these are relatively fixable things as well. That's the sort of starting point. And so we as business in the community are so appreciative of the leadership that you as an industry have shown in terms of how you can accelerate all of this. You know, one of the privileges of my job is that I get to talk to an awful lot of business leaders about what they're up against, what works, what doesn't, and I hear a pretty consistent refrain out there. When I challenge companies on, let's take youth unemployment as an example. How are they doing? What are they doing? Everyone has an anecdotal story, but when I probe a little bit, they say, you know, I could do more. And so I say, well, why not? What is holding you back? And I hear a consistent refrain with that. Feels so complicated, I don't know where to start. The problem is so big, and I can only do so much, okay? My in tray is overflowing. I don't really have time, which I sort of interpret to mean I only get to keep this job for a couple of years, and I want to focus on the things that happen on my watch. And that sometimes my customers don't want to pay for it, my investors don't quite get it and don't ask me about it. So part of what I think needs to happen, and part of what I'm hearing from the great success you had with the big conversations is, how do you make the business case real as well? How do you make sure it is about building brand and reputation? It's about finding the best people and holding on to them, creating not just jobs but careers for young people, and giving kids who don't think they know where they want to go or don't even think they have any choices an opportunity to do something here. How do we build on all of that? And ultimately, it's how you make your business better and stronger, isn't it? Yeah. Both managing risk and other things. But we talk a lot in my world about what is the purpose of business? What is the purpose of your businesses? And is it just to maximize shareholder value? That's part of it, of course. But is it also about customer value and community value and colleague value? And how do all of these things come together? And when we talk about what is the purpose of business in the community, we say, helping create, with all of you, a fairer society and a more sustainable future. And when we talk about fair, at least when I talk about fair, it comes to the very point that Stephen was talking about here, which is, I'm not saying fairness of outcome necessarily, I'm saying fairness of opportunity. I'm not suggesting that teachers and dentists should get paid the same thing. Maybe they should, that's up to the market to decide. But how do we make sure people feel like they know what their options are and they feel like those opportunities are available, and that we create a fairness in that way? There was a statistic in the paper earlier this week, you may have seen it, that said, if you go to an independent school in this country, you are 55 times more likely to go to Oxbridge than if you were on free school meals. That doesn't seem very fair to me. Not that Oxbridge is the answer, it isn't. But this idea of how do we make sure there's an equality of opportunity? And so looking at industries and sectors like yours, where you are important and incredible employers, you provide a wide range of career opportunities for people at all stages of their development. People who are just getting into the world of work, people who have somehow fallen out, people who are trying to reskill themselves after leaving the service. There's so many different ways that you offer those opportunities. And so we're using the amazing success that you've had here to challenge other sectors to say, look what's happening in the hospitality world. Why can't you do the same in yours?
So we just need to keep going, in effect, and keep building that reputation.
Well, and it's those great examples of outcomes. I mean, I love Patrick talking about his personal journey and then ending up leading a major organization and a world beater like that, and how we capture those individual stories. Internally, we talk about two things as we're trying to build the momentum, build the movement of all of this. We say, no stories without numbers and no numbers without stories. The issues that we have with young people, and for that matter, the over 50s who find themselves economically excluded but want to work and other things. The numbers are huge, so the problems are big and we have to tackle them. But what really makes the case is meeting a young person out in the hall and hearing the journey that they've been on. I've got a very impressive young woman following me around today, tagging along, who's doing some work experience with us at business in the community, hearing her dreams and where she's trying to go. It's those individual journeys that are really so exciting. And you've got some brilliant examples of what you and your colleagues in the sector have done to really change people's lives. And not just their life, their families' lives. The other thing we see in all of that, if you've got a young person that's coming from a workless family, sometimes second, third generation workless, they're not even quite sure why you'd want to do something like this. And so the example that can be created, the momentum that can start, is huge, and it's powerful, and it's exciting, and we thank you very much.
You're right, it is amazing to see the power of being able to change not just the young person's life, but also their family. And somebody who's got absolutely bucket loads of experience of just that sort of area is Nikki. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about the foundation, because it's unique, and working with you to deliver a big conversation earlier in the year, we learnt a lot about the outreach programs and the work you're doing in Tottenham, but also thank you for agreeing to host another big conversation later in the year. But tell us a little bit about the foundation.
The foundation is the charitable arm of the football club, but we're actually independent, and we work with about 8,000 young people every week across 4 North London boroughs, but also work with a range of partnerships that see us deliver programs nationally and internationally. And we have an education pathway that goes from primary school all the way up to being a university in our own right. We run 2 foundation degree programs. Also now joined to that is a university technical college at the Tottenham UTC, and obviously part of a £400 million regeneration scheme with the new stadium. And as part of that, obviously employment and skills is a very important part of the agenda. So since 2013, we're just under 3,000 job opportunities created, and that started with a new Sainsbury's store opening, which 216 people were employed within a 3-mile radius of the stadium. And that presented some real challenges to think about how we do that, and that was all about collaboration and partnership, both with Sainsbury's, but we formed a formal partnership with the Department of Work and Pensions and also the council to understand how to train up and develop the skills that the Sainsbury's in that instance, but it's led to many cross-sector working really, we're going to need, and how we started to fill that and put on programs and run training courses that were relevant to the skills gap. So that was hugely successful. And then from that, we've developed a range of partnerships which led to the big conversation. And I guess our aspiration was to fill the stadium with job opportunities in the way that we fill it with football fans. And I think with the big conversation enabled us actually to do that. There was over 2,100 job pledges on that day, which was an amazing achievement. And over 1,000 young people that went through our doors. We tend to run job fairs about once every 3 to 4 months, and we've become a partner in Skills London this year. And a reason for us doing that was to really drive the skills agenda, and exactly what you both said about apprenticeships and opening up the doors to young people about, in this instance, the hospitality sector is amazing. How do we, if you took a football club as a great example, open up that supply chain, which often is all of the small to medium-sized businesses. Certainly around us, it's predominantly 88% small to medium-sized firms. So how do we start to really drive the local economy, but also understand inward investment and build a traineeship and apprenticeship program that is bespoke and suits the needs of this sector. So there's been a huge amount of work going on this year, and I think what the big conversation did was provide a real platform for us to think about that, but also how to track job outcomes more effectively, but also to understand if there was 50 people that turned up at your door for an interview, what do we need to do with those young people that perhaps weren't successful? And in more deprived areas, and predominantly we work in more of the deprived areas of North London, often with those young people most at risk. And what we found in terms of success with apprenticeships and traineeships is the real mentoring support that we can provide to be able to support those young people to stay in those apprenticeship pathways. So I think also the challenge with the small to medium size and even large businesses face is how to take some of the pain out of apprenticeships. Yeah. And I think, again, there are organisations like ours that are able to provide a different type of engagement and support those young people through your apprenticeship pathways.
Yeah. You've talked about working with small businesses, which is quite interesting because obviously everybody on the panel's big business background, but of the 240,000 businesses that make up, our industry, the vast majority of them will be small and medium-sized businesses. So how have you managed to help break down the barriers and get them involved? Because some of the people you've helped have set up their own businesses as well, like Gina.
Yes, we do. We run an Opening Doors programme, which is an enterprise programme with the Black Training and Enterprise Group and other partners. And that is really to start to think about your idea, literally from an idea, to be able to test trade on a match day and think about what all of that means to set up your own business, but also to work with all the businesses in our area. So they come in and they guest speak. They provide that kind of sense of aspiration and some mentoring support to those young people. And then we also we sit as part of the local traders groups and try to understand. I mean, we've got one coming up soon. There's a new training kitchen opening, which is called Chicken Town. And they wanted to look at how they could work with us to provide a platform, really, to say, we're coming in, we've got loads of opportunities for young people. How do we use that brand association to leverage more jobs and more opportunities for young people?
Stephen, you also, as the BITC, you also sit on the London LEP, and you're focusing on the power of small and medium-sized enterprises there as well. So, I mean, are there any lessons that you think we should hear in terms of how we broaden our involvement with the smaller businesses?
It is, and it's very relevant. It's slightly ironic, I suppose. In my business life, I was chief executive of two very large businesses. I've sat on the boards of a number of very large businesses, and it was only really joining the business and the community movement that I realized, naively, that the backbone of this nation is the smaller business, and the job creation that we're seeing is in the smaller businesses. And so kind of lessons I've learned, John, both in both roles. The mayor's asked me to lead, and you had Boris with you earlier today, very passionate about this, to think about what it is we need to do in London to make sure that we're nurturing a strong SME community, because this is a complicated, expensive city to live in. So we're thinking around issues like access to finance, export support, affordable workspace, an increasingly big issue, and then the sort of portals that allow people to access quickly. And the reality for all of us, but particularly for the SME, is that they're time poor. They don't have time, they don't have departments. They say to themselves, oh, that's great for Hilton or Premier Inn, but this is too complicated for my little business. And so part of our mission has to be, how do we, at one level, make sure the big guys are thinking about how they use their supply chains effectively to encourage the behavior they want. But secondly, how do we make the journey simple for people? So take work experience and work inspiration, the work that you guys are doing, a perfect example. How do you create simple, practical toolkits that make this fun and enjoyable and impactful for everybody? Not just the young person, but the colleagues who are working with them. We all get pressure from important customers to bring young people in. We're all doing it anyway. Let's do it better, and let's make sure that we're providing opportunities for others. So the message has to be with a smaller company. This is absolutely part of creating value in your organization. You create value by living your values. Not a new idea. So this is relevant to you, however new you are in the process. And secondly, there are some tools and things that you can use. I've been doing the rounds with the various technology hubs and incubators, of which we have loads of in this town. Quite exciting. I don't understand most of what they're doing, and some of them are trying to upend your businesses with their new tech platforms, and mine as well. But when I have the conversation with them about the role they play in their society, they're all alive to the conversation, all of them. So it just keeps reminding me that we just have to keep nudging and making the tools and the opportunities available, and then celebrating those examples of success that are out there, and that feeds on itself.
And we've heard a lot about collaboration today, but I think what we're hearing is a really practical opportunity and an example of how we can collaborate with the charities and the organisations that are there to support and the foundations and help everybody understand that any change, one pledge, one work experience, one apprenticeship, one job changes lives forever. Just going back to the broader careers part, Steve, from Hilton's point of view, where are the future leaders of our PLCs in hospitality going to come from? I mean, from the Guild's perspective, I mean, what do you see happening?
Well, they're sitting in schools at the moment, the further education environments, and many of them are actually at the early stages of their employment. And I think the challenge is a kind of, a life cycle challenge of inspiring them at school to want to have a career in hospitality. And then when in the workplace is obviously retaining them. And I think, in that context, we do have a responsibility as businesses within hospitality to make the whole experience of team members in hospitality a good one, a positive one, an engaging one. We're certainly doing a lot of work in my organization around that. I mean, somebody said to me the other day in this context about, where do you normally find the HR department of a hotel? Yeah, near the kind of goods in dock where there's loads of boxes and a kind of faint smell of fresh produce. Yeah, and it's not a particularly nice environment to be in. And often that's a team member's first impression of working in the hospitality environment. And I think there's an opportunity to change that narrative and change that experience. And I think, that's one small example, but, from schools through to further education and into the first employment experiences, we have an opportunity to significantly improve perception and experiences to really drive retention, and through that, bring the new leaders of our business forward.
Great. I think it's clear that the future of our industry lies in the people who bring it to life every night, in every hotel, every restaurant, every attraction, every day. So I think we have, as you say, a responsibility to invest in those people in the future. And what we're hearing is that if we can work together in collaboration with all the agencies that are out there, I think we have the opportunity to change parents' perceptions, teachers' minds, and get that career story out there really early, and then show people the opportunities that lie within our industry to gain further skills and build your career, and then take those on to other industries, or indeed grow your career to great success within hospitality. We've got time for a couple of questions from the floor, if anybody would like to ask the panel any questions. We've got one down here at the front, if we have a microphone available. If not, shout and I'll hear you.
I'm sure everyone can hear me, right?
Yeah, hello.
It's really two things. Most of the people that are now coming into the industry are, of course, very young. They've been raised in the technology. However, not a lot of companies are actually utilizing, for example, versions of mentoring apps or internal communication apps. And on another point, there's a lot of talk at the moment in the design sector with regards to the employee well-being, but I'm not seeing much of it in the hospitality or even retail sector.
Okay, so first off, technology and how we use it to develop and train, and then also the well-being of team members and employees.
And how, especially looking at the sort of design of the spaces
Okay.
and the sort of the journeys that they take every day.
Anything?
Well, I can certainly give you examples of where we've initiatives in place to address both of those. I mean, within our own organisation, and I get that we're fortunate because of the size and scale of our business that we're able to do this, but we have something called Hilton Worldwide University that's available to every team member within the business. There's over 2,000 online courses, and we make the technology in the hotel environment available and accessible to team members so that they can undertake those courses. I think there's opportunity for big business like ours to share that capability, or certainly the insight as to how we created it with smaller, medium-sized enterprises as part of the bigger opportunity. In terms of the workplace environment, I mean, that plays to my little example about where the HR offices are, you know. I mean, if we're asking our team members to operate in 5-star luxury, upscale, whatever type of category of hotel where we want to make the guest experience front and center in everything that they do, then surely we've got to give our team members a great experience in their environment as well. We're fully committed to that, and I'd invite all businesses within the industry to look at the same challenge.
We certainly believe the same in terms of Premier Inn. How you treat the team is how the team will then treat the guests. So we've got to make sure that we've given that warmth of welcome to the team and that they're set up for success in terms of their environment. But interestingly, 4 years ago, Premier Inn didn't have any digital function at all. And now it's one of the biggest parts of our central team and is absolutely pivotal to how we trade. And what's really exciting is now seeing that digital experience stretching out and starting to spread across the business in how we train our teams, in how we manage those teams, and how we optimize the efficiency of them. So I think that the digital platform has arrived and is spreading, and there's opportunity and examples across the board now.
Just to say as well, there are fantastic tools already out there. Accenture's Skills to Succeed program, which is a mentoring module, almost like Sims characters that go online. It's a free program that you can design by sector to identify the skills you need to get into those jobs. And we actually piloted that across an apprenticeship program and for the Premier League. And it's
a digital van as well.
We've got a digivan, so we go out with iPads in the back of a van, take that out onto the estates and start to use that. But I think what we also learned is absolutely the digital platform is really important, but certainly with those younger people that perhaps lack an aspiration or find it very difficult to sit and understand the benefit of technology in that context, supporting it with a mentoring program, running alongside it is often, we've found in our experience, the key to success and being able to kind of drive some of those longer term outcomes and opportunities.
At the same time, deliver the functional skills in English and maths, which have been a big stumbling block.
I think also when we're in the process of developing a program, which is how they start to profile their own skills that perhaps they've already coming with that don't recognise, whether that's resilience from the environment that they've come from, how they really understand leadership, and start to bring that to life a little bit more.
We've probably got time for one more question, if there is anybody wanted to ask the panel anything else.
Steve, you mentioned a few moments ago about the Hilton University and the 2,000 courses that you run. You mentioned a few moments ago about the Hilton University and the 2,000 courses that you run. You then went on to say that you felt there were opportunities to share that with SMEs. Now, how serious are you about that?
Well, absolutely serious. I mean, I was in the introduction, it was said I'm the chairman of the Hospitality Guild, and the purpose of the Hospitality Guild is to develop the industry and the skills agenda within the industry. So the time and effort that we're putting into there, the sharing of best practice, the discussion we have around the 22 different skills employers, training and development organizations is critical to progressing that capability within our business. And that's one example of where we can bring our thoughts and our insight to bear.
Hello? I think it would be wonderful news for the independent hotel sector if those sort of opportunities were to be available, because we haven't got the resources.
Yeah.
And the other thing we lack is the opportunity to give our rising talent that next leg up, that guarantee that there is a career beyond our provincial hotel in a town that isn't big enough to have a Hilton or a Radisson, but perhaps a way in to Hilton or Radisson at some stage in the future would be a way we could retain people and keep them in the industry for longer.
I hear you. And let's talk later over coffee.
Thank you, Steve. Well, that concludes our panel this afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you to the panel, and let's give them a big round of applause.